Hi class. This video lecture, I'm going to cover the sex chromosomes and how genes that are inherited on these chromosomes, or genes that are found on this chromosome, have a different inheritance patterns than the ones we've been talking about with just dominant and recessive and everyone having two copies. All right, so here's a picture of a karyotype. You've seen this before. It has all of the homologous pairs of chromosomes designated 1 through 22, and then the sex chromosomes are the 23rd pair. So here, the sex chromosomes are an X and a Y. So this would be a biological male. And what I want to point out now is that these technically aren't homologous chromosomes, because by definition, homologous chromosomes are chromosomes of the same size, of the same shape, they have the centromere in the same position, and contain the same types of genes. And the X here you can see is much larger than the Y. And the X chromosome actually carries like 900 protein coding genes, where the Y only has about 60. So that there are many genes that are found on the X chromosome that aren't found on the Y. Here, I'm giving you a little picture of the X chromosome and the Y chromosome. Again, indicating that the X is much larger. And now I'm showing you that the Y chromosome actually has a gene called the SRY gene that stands for sex determining region of the Y chromosomes. And this is the gene that determines, and I have it written here, biological gender. So the SRY, sex determining region of the Y chromosome, encodes for a protein that turns on the genes required for male development. So if you have this gene, you're a biological male. And if you don't, and you just have two X's, you don't have this protein that turns on, right, everything that's needed for male development, so you're a female. All right, so that's just a little bit about the sex chromosomes. From here, we're going to talk about now the genes that are found on this X chromosome that don't have a homologous counterpart on the Y. So if you're a male and have certain of these genes, you only have one copy because there wouldn't be the homologous counter on the other X because you're XY. All right, so when a gene is present on the X chromosome, and there's no homologous counterpart on the Y. So for example, if there were genes that are found up here on the X chromosome, they're not going to be on the Y chromosome. We call those X-linked genes. And they have a different inheritance pattern because, for example, if you're a male, right, you inherit the X chromosome from your mom, the Y chromosome from your dad. If it's a recessive trait on the X, you only need one copy to have that recessive trait because there is no other gene on the Y, right? So until now, we've learned you need two copies of a recessive gene to express that trait. But for X-linked, males only need one. And we're going to do a problem to help you work through this. And then there's some problems on your guided note. Let's do a problem. So here I say a woman who is heterozygous for normal and hemophilia alleles. Okay, so she's normal and has a hemophilia allele. So what would her genotype be? Okay, so the notation is X big H for normal, X little h for hemophilia. She is heterozygous. Remember, hetero means two different alleles for normal and hemophilia. So her genotype, I'm going to circle it, would be right here. This is the normal. This is the hemophilia. And she's a woman, so she has two X's. One is normal, one is hemophilia. Has children with a man who is normal. The man is not hemophiliac. Man is XY. He's normal, so we know the X has a big H. The Y doesn't carry this gene, right? Because remember, the Y is just really little. So you would have nothing. See, it's empty here on the Y. Now, the question is, what is the chance of their sons and daughters having hemophilia? So you do it the same as you do the other genetics problems in Punnett squares. You pick one side for the mom, one side from the dad. So the dad could, right? So if these are his, this is his genotype. When that man undergoes meiosis, produces sperm that separate these chromosomes, right? Because in the sperm there's only one. The sperm could either have X big H or the sperm could carry the Y chromosome. And just as a side note, see, it's men that determine if you're going to have a boy or a girl because they're the only ones that can donate the Y chromosome. The female is heterozygous, so she's X big H, X little h. So she can either donate X big H, as in here, or X little h, as in here. So these are the male gametes, the female gametes. And then you join them. If this, I'll go back to my pointer. If this egg and this sperm fuse, you would have X big H, X big H. That would be a female, not hemophiliac. If this one, egg and this sperm fuse, you'd have X big H, X little h. That girl would still not be a hemophiliac. She'd be a carrier or heterozygous, but she wouldn't have hemophilia. So the question asks, what are the chances that their son and daughters would have hemophilia? Daughters, all unaffected. There's no way they could have hemophilia. Now, the boys, since they only have to inherit one recessive allele or mutated gene that causes hemophilia, they can't be carriers. If they have it, they have it. So let's go through the boys. This X from the mom and this Y from the dad would make a normal non-hemophiliac boy. But this X with the mutated gene, the recessive one, and this Y here, this bottom quarter here, would make the son have hemophilia. But now, because we have to separate girls versus boys, we're just talking about two potential boy options, and one of those options is hemophilia. So we would say half of the sons would have hemophilia. All right, so now try and do the problems in your guided notes. Bye, everyone.